This episode of Armor Training is brought to you by RoxOpt. RoxOpt is an analytics tool built specifically for the Hyrox athlete. When this season began, I would stare at my RoxOpt sheet, searching for inefficiencies across the board for what stations are really worth going after and which ones might not be. And because of this, I was able to create a really solid plan when it came to my races. And this tool has helped my performance get better over time. So not only is it really interesting, fun to look at, a great way to guide your actual training, but it's a great tool to put into place to help you get the better results that you want for Hyrox. Take a look at RoxOpt with the link down in the show notes. All right. Hello. What's going on? My name is Rich Ryan. Welcome to the RMR Training Podcast. Today, I am solo. We are fresh off of the Hyrox World Championships in Chicago, Illinois, United States. And all three of us, Meg, Ryan, myself, we were all there on site, but it's just a crazy weekend. And it's really hard to kind of get any time. So we're optimistic about getting something, but we're going to all get together later this week and put out kind of like a collective episode talking about our different experiences with Ryan getting on the podium at the Elite 15 doubles, and Meg was just around doing some commentating, doing some sponsor obligations, just having like a weekend to be around as more of a fan, which is a different experience for her for sure. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And we'll talk a little bit about my experience over the weekend, but I'm going to give you some of my takeaways here from these are like immediate takeaways from kind of like my season and what I've been thinking about in general when it comes to Hyrox training, Hyrox performance. As the season does end, this is a great time to have that this reflection period. And it is something that is critical in my process and is something that will take a while for things to really sink in. I've had some time to think about it. I'm recording this on Monday night. And again, apologize for this coming out a little bit later than typical, but just with all the weekend happenings, this was just as soon as we could really get you anything. So I appreciate you all listening as being patient with the content process. If nothing else, we are consistent. We try to be consistent. That's endurance training. That's endurance performance. That's the same as podcasting. Just consistency is what moves the needle. So we are doing that here. So I'm going to give you my 5 takeaways. I have 5. Maybe there'll be more. I have them loosely written down. So maybe a bit of a riff here from your mans, but I'm just going to do some of these takeaways that I had, and they're going to include things like preparation, things like I want to touch on the sleds a little bit, the controversial sleds over the weekend, and kind of the Hyrox statement and what I'm thinking for that, and kind of what that matters going forward. And then just about a little bit of the emotional side of the weekend and some of the things that I experienced. And, ultimately with racing, with having a goal, right? The learning is just so valuable. And I'm surprised almost every single time. And I should probably stop being surprised at this, but the new learnings that come from basically every single race, like there's always some sort of takeaway. And I've been doing this for such a long time that the value in the racing and the learnings that we take from that, it's exciting because there's no end in terms of like what I feel like I can learn and will learn when it comes from this. So that just is something. The experiences, it's the same race every single time, right? And it could be from this or from marathons or for whatever endeavor you're doing. It could be from doing the CrossFit Open, doing the CrossFit competition, and even though like it's kind of the same thing every time, the experience that will come with it is going to be unique to those circumstances, to your buildup, to your mindset, to your planning, and that's some of the things that I'm going to touch on now. So my first takeaway, in no particular order, I'm talking about now how the offseason works, right? I know I said I was going to give reflections about the actual race and what's going on, but what's become clear to myself and from some of the athletes that I've been coaching this past year is the offseason is where you get your big gains from, and then the season itself is where you fine tune and get the marginal gains. So to raise your floor, the the off season's what happens. In my own particular season, my debut race ended up being my PR for the year. I don't feel like I did not get better throughout the season. I feel like I am at my best right now, which is a great feeling. But the off season is what did that, right? And I showed up into the season, which was in November, so long ago now, and was able to be at my best. Not my best. I was able to really be better than I've ever been before, because in that off season, I was able to take time to kind of change my strategy, change my planning, test out new stuff, and kind of put different things in process to make me a better athlete. And this is really where big gains do happen. And as we approach the new off season for this year, it's something that I have not been looking forward to. I wouldn't say I'm like, oh, okay, I can't wait to do the off season, because I have been enjoying training and racing so much. But now that we're here, I know the value of it. I know how important it really is to raise the floor, right? And I feel like that can happen in a couple different ways, whether that is reflection about what you need to do, how you kind of approached it mentally, physically, literally changing how the training is going, changing the sequence, changing the cadence, changing the actual in and out of the training itself, joining a different training program, trying some different things, learning new things, because there's not that pressure and there's not that time sensitivity of coming into a block of training where you need to prepare for a race. So it's really important to take advantage of these off-season weeks and months and have some kind of plan. And if you're someone who's just like, I just need to rest and like recuperate and like come back and feel good and fresh, that's what you need to do. If someone's like, I need to do a strength, I need to do a running block, I need to do improve my mobility, I need to improve my stations, I need to just like pick apart what happened during the season and understand what my limiting factors were in that season, whether it's training or racing, and make a plan around that. Because ultimately the limiting factors is what is going to addressing those is what's going to help your overall performance here in Hyrox. There's a lot of ways that you can address those things, which is what makes this sport so fun. And this, I'm not saying this to do this as like a plug for our training program, but we are doing an RMR off-season training program. It's going to be like somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks. I've been building it out now. It's live within our app, and people are already kind of taking part of it. And we did this specifically because of the value. And we have several different programs that we try to follow along in our app and in my own training. And I guess I'll just take this for reference points, right? When we're in training, it's like, okay, everything is specific. And I think that is the best way to do it when you are approaching a specific race, right? Being specific within the demands of the race, so that when you get to the race, you are familiar with like the skill, the output, your strategy. You have that because you've done it all in training. So when you get to the race, you understand how it's going to feel, what it's going to be like. But in the off season, we can become much more broad. We can work on a much wider range of fitness and not worry about the specifics so much. So it doesn't have to be like, okay, sled push run, sled pull run, like skier run. Like it doesn't have to be like the sequence of everything. Or it doesn't have to be like, okay, today 60 minutes of zone 4. On Thursday, 60 minutes of zone 4. That is reserved for the specific build. The off season is time to broaden your fitness. And what is great about Hyrox is that you do need a broad range of fitness, even though, the CrossFit people, it's not same thing every time. Oh my God, it's not unknown and unknowable. It's like, yeah, it's the same thing every time, but it's still the same, but there's still so much you can do to improve in this specific event. It's not like if we're doing just a marathon, right? It's like, things can kind of fall into a couple of different buckets. Like you can run more, you can run faster, you can do like more frequent, but it's all like running, right? You can do some strength stuff, which could help a little bit here or there, but the strength isn't going to be like that one-to-one crossover that we're going to get in Hyrox. There's just so much you can do, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun to train for. So like doing the off-season training and broadening that fitness is where really big gains come from. And that is something that I felt in my own season. And then once you make those big gains, they're easier to maintain, right? If you're just trying to make small gains over the course of the entire, just marginal gains for years, like that could work. But if you have the opportunity to make bigger gains by zooming things out and changing the things you're doing, addressing your limiters, then coming to that next season, Like, yeah, you may have like one of your best races up front, but like you're going to be able to maintain that and make those small gains from your strategy and specific prep, like around like the results that you're getting. Like you can get incrementally better, I do believe, but to get a lot better, it happens now. It happens now, and we all have the opportunity now to attack our weaknesses and to get much, much better at Hyrox. So the big gains happen in the off season. It matters. So if you don't have a plan, start thinking about a plan. Whether that if it's like reflecting on your own training and putting things in place, joining a gym that has Hyrox stuff, finding a trainer in person, doing an online thing like what we have, or like there's a lot of other places you can get that. Ours is probably the best. Let's be real, ours is probably the best. But there's a lot of places you can get it. There's a lot of places you can get it. So taking the time to make the big gains is now. So you can do that because you can take a little bit more. You can do a little bit more. You can have a little bit more risk because there's not a race right around the corner. We got Carl here. He's chirping a little bit. I don't know if you hear him. He just wants to say hello. Yep. Okay. I didn't even talk about my race at all. My races. So let's move into that piece. So let's talk about the individual race that I had for this past weekend. On Thursday night, it was the Elite 15 individual race. I've been fortunate enough to qualify for, and I came into this race feeling as good as I've ever felt in my entire life, honestly. And my run fitness was at its highest. My station fitness was equally, it was as good as it has been. And my confidence was just like sky high because I felt so fit and I felt so healthy and I like felt like I did everything I could possibly do. And it is an achievement to get to the race healthy. We'll talk about it a little bit more as it goes along, but it's not a guarantee. And like that is part of the deal to actually make the race itself, to just even get there. Like that's an accomplishment to get there as good as possible. And that is something that as an athlete, you, the listener, you, the athlete here, taking these seasons in an annual cycle is how endurance typically works, right? Or any type of like real sport outing, right? Right now it's the NBA playoffs. Like your success is mostly is not mostly. Your success is not singularly how the year ends, right? It is the totality. But ideally, you want to show up at your best at the end or at the championship, at the most important race where everyone else is trying to show up their best. Right? If you show up your best and it's like the middle of the season and you do really well, that's great. Like you did an amazing job. But if you're by the end of the year, where this is this like target, this championship, this goal for everyone, not just you, right? It's everybody's goal. So showing up the best for that event, and particularly for endurance, let's say, I'm lost in the basketball analogy on this one, but the showing up for your best in an endurance event where everyone else is going to be showing up at their best, this is what we can really judge our season off of. Everything else that happened before that, it is built to this one moment. And that's ideally what we want to do. We want to show up our best when it matters to show up your best against everybody else. So judging your progress year over year on like a race like this is a very cool kind of marker. So it's really hard to have like linear progress in endurance, right? Meaning like, okay, you started 3 years ago and every single race you get better. It just like doesn't work like that. You will see it for a short amount of time, especially if you're newer. You will start to see like cut big chunks, but eventually you're going to get to the place where if you're not perfectly prepared, it will be not as good as when you are perfectly prepared, even like depending on where the timeline is, if that makes sense. So like you can't just assume or hope to be your best race every single time. And you're going to have to pick your spots and learn how you show up as your best self for a big race. This takes a lot of prep and you have to learn a lot in these annual cycles. Like, so we could try to do it in like these like mesocycles, like within a training block, right? Like it's like a 12-week block. It's like, I'm going to try to be my best as I possibly can be within this 12-week block, show up at this A race. And then try to do that like consecutively. It's just really challenging. So like having this annual kind of like marker is crucial. So if you are someone who wants to look at like how am I progressing, looking at it from an annual stance is an annual cycle is really helpful. So that wasn't even part of what that wasn't even one of my takeaways. That was just like a tangent. I need to get back. We back. So for me, showing up to this race, feeling my best, it was like a major accomplishment, right? Like that alone is a win. And if you all did that as well, or if there's a race you did that throughout the year and you got there and you're healthy and you were like, I did everything I could in this day to get there, like kudos. That's huge. That's a huge understanding to have in your back pocket that you can like deploy for any A race that you have. It's like, I know if I do these type of things, I take the care of this type of recovery, train this type of way, taper this way, build like this, I will show up the best that I can, right? Not injured, not overcooked, just ready. So I felt like I was there. I felt like I did it. So I was very, very happy. And on race day, it felt that way. I like woke up on race morning, just like, I was like, I did it. Like, I'm here. Like, this is amazing. I can't like, and it's hard. It's really hard to do that for everything to go well. It's just be like, bang, we're here. And it's not, you can't like take it for granted. Nothing's guaranteed. And things happen that are going to be out of control sometimes. And you won't show up at your best. But when you can do your best to like make it all happen, it's just like such a confidence builder. And that's how I felt. I was like, I'm feeling awesome. However, having race strategies is what my takeaway. Takeaway number 2, race strategy. To perfect race strategy, it takes iterations, it takes time, it takes practice, and it's not going to be replicable as easily in training. So like I showed up on race day wanting to win. I showed up with the fitness that I felt was as good or better than anybody else's that I could like envision from what I know of the sport. Like how good someone's going to be, I feel like the fitness that I was in was equal to what someone else could do in the sport. So showing up was as like that was a great feeling. But I knew that I couldn't show up and race the way that I've been racing in the past to get those results. Because how I've been racing, when I have the most success in terms of time and place in these majors, it's conservative. I go out cautiously and then I build into the race and carry momentum and manage different areas so that I can feel good in the late and kind of build and start closing hard. And when I do that effectively, I can run a good time and I can place pretty well. And that would have been great, but I wanted to win. And I knew I couldn't be conservative early and close that type of gap because the athletes up front are just so good that they're not going to come back that much. And I'm not going to be able to make up that type of distance when it comes to closing out a Hyrox event against the best athletes in the world at this point of maturity of the sport. People are just like good. And like there's multiple athletes who are very good. Hold on one second. Quick close. Carl had to go. He was like, I gotta get out of here, dude. Let me out. So I had to change my strategy. I had to change my strategy to do this. And that meant being more aggressive up front and not just aggressive. I know where my limitations are on like the ski erg and but I know my running was really strong. And that first run, I can run with anybody in the field. So at first run, it's going to take more out of those athletes than it does me, I was thinking. And so I had to be aggressive in the first run. I like couldn't allow the gap to form. And then I had some different ideas of like how I was going to manage the runs in between the sleds and how I want to put out on the sleds. And ideally put me in a position that I would be close so that when it was time to close, I could do it. And I could be with the athletes who close well, and I could close down on the athletes who have not been closing as well so far this year. So that was exactly what I did. And I was executing to a T, exactly how I wanted to execute. And even more so, what was happening in front of me and around me was also exactly what I thought was going to happen. I had a thought at the race. I was like, oh my God, this is actually happening. This is going to plan. Like, and I was confident in this plan. I was like, I can do this plan based off of like some of the training that I had and some of the numbers that I was like looking at. And I was like, this plan is going to work. I got this thing. And I was wrong. I was wrong about it working all the way through, and not having time to iterate, to practice my plan outside of just training. I didn't have the familiarity with what it was going to feel like and when it was going to feel like that. And I just wasn't as prepared. I couldn't get myself as prepared as I possibly could for that plan in training. And I believe that if I had 2 or 3 more races like this, I would have been able to execute this plan that much better, right? It's like anything. You want to practicing anything for the first time, any new skill at all. Like, I guess it's not technically a skill, but like, just let's use this as an example. If we're like practicing any new skill, and even if it's something that is derivative from something that we feel like we can do well, the first time you do something, it's going to be more challenging than the second or third or fourth. And as you go through it, like, this is what process is. The process ends up becoming a little bit more familiar. You can make different changes to the process to make sure that you are able to execute the way that you want to, or to really kind of help yourself navigate the challenges that you didn't foresee in the later iterations. And I just didn't have those opportunities. Like, I didn't have the opportunity or the foresight to race like this in my earlier races, mostly because I was trying to qualify for this race. And also, there was just like unfortunate circumstances around like not having races in the United States, or getting sick for races and not being able to attend races that I had on the calendar to practice this exact thing. So that's a major takeaway from this event, is that, like, plans, even if it's like the best plan, and if it's something you definitely feel like you can execute on, even if you execute the exact same way that you hope, there's going to be room to improve upon those plans after after you practice them in the specific way that it's going to happen, which would be the race, right? So having your plan and like building on the plan and allowing yourself to understand how it's going to feel, and then taking it back to training so you can prepare for that feeling, and or what shortcomings it might be, is critical to like making the plan work to the best of its ability. And it's hard to do it's hard to like nail on the first shot, right? So I came into this race with a riskier race plan, and it was a major risk on my end because I did not practice it at all. I practiced it in practice, but in a game, in a race, it's different. It's just different. And I didn't, and like, that is just one thing that I now know. It's like, okay, if I want to now prepare myself to race at this level, this is how I'm going to have to run the race. So this is a great plug for another tool that we use with RoxOpt, right? Like, RoxOpt is a great way to kind of take a look and evaluate things and figure out like what you need to do in your training to like kind of close gaps. Or if you want to race a different way, it's like, okay, I want to be more aggressive up front, I want to close a little bit better later, taking a look at the numbers and how it all kind of works out, and then kind of changing and pointing your training to make it to allow yourself to execute on a plan, and then practicing that plan like all season. And I think having like a specific race plan is another one part of that season cycle. If you're taking a plan and you're just like completely throwing it out, just like changing something like altogether, like, it's like too much change in one shot to really know what worked and what didn't work. So I honestly think, like, now next season, like, I know how I'm going to race every single race. Like, I think I'm just gonna like have to do some sort of iteration of this plan if I want to be able to like win these races straight out. Like, I need to practice. And that's just like the reality of it. I was optimistic that it could work, and but I was wrong. All right. So that was takeaway number 2. Takeaway number 3. Let's talk about the sleds a little bit here. So if you have been following the discourse around the Hyrox World Championships at all, you probably have seen someone or someone repost something about the discrepancy within the sled lanes. And this was real. This was absolutely real. The races that I saw happen age group wise throughout the week, there were some people getting absolutely buried by the sleds. People who are good at the sleds were getting murdered by sleds. And other people not as much. So I'm just giving you a background on kind of the process of how we were introduced to everything. So during the Elite 15 event, we have the day before, it's a lot of media stuff. Like we're around, like they're taking us here or there. They show us our lounge, which is so cool. They take care of us. And then there's like different media obligations, like that press conference or whatever. And they do some headshots or whatever they do. They just do things that are going to help them get prepared to tell the stories and the images of what's going to during the actual race. And they kind of collect all this and they put it into place for the race the next day. On the day of the race, we go to a race briefing. It's usually like in the middle of the day. They take us through all the rules and they give us a chance to like ask some questions and get some clarification. And they're always changing things and they're always like progressing and evolving, right? And after this briefing, they take us onto the course. We walk around like the run loop so we can kind of see it. Then we come on to the field of play. I guess you could say it's not really play. No one plays Hyrox, and you kind of like get to see everything. And we usually don't get to touch any of the equipment. In this instance, they did allow us to push and pull the sled a little bit and kind of change our shoes and everything. So we were on the carpet and we got to kind of like move things around and like see how it was all feeling. And in that, it felt challenging, but not like devastatingly challenging. It was like I was like, okay, this is. I was worried it was going to be either like drastic in either direction, which was going to change the race for one way or the other. So I was like worried it was gonna be like way too fast. All right, now I was worried it was gonna be like way too hard. But it was like not really either of those things. It kind of felt the same to me, the way it feels in training anyway. So I was like, all right, that's fine. So I pushed the pull. We did a couple different lanes, and like there was a little bit like of change in how it felt from lane to lane, not a ton. And the Christian and Mo, I talked to them a little bit during that, like they were out there watching us, like seeing how we were doing with the turf and everything. So I was over chatting with them a little bit. And they said that yes, like these were brand new sleds that we had on the Elite 15 race. Every sled was brand new. And as the season progresses, like this will actually, like right now, they said they're like these new sleds on the new carpet, that's going to feel like the old carpet. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I think that is right. And they said as these things get worn down, as the sleds get worn down, because the carpet's supposed to be more durable, they will get more challenging. Like they said that. And they also said that the sled lanes, like because the way that the turf is kind of piled, you go against like the grain. I don't know if grain is the word when we're referring to carpet or turf, but one direction is going to be a little bit harder than the other direction. And you could see that again on the actual event itself. You push it one way, the color of the pile would change because it was not really standing up or whatever. And you push the other way and it would be with the grain or whatever. And it's a little bit easier. And you could see that happening during the races as well. Like one way it would just be like flattening people. The other way they would be already flat, but on the way back, they could push it a little bit better. So, these are things that they've obviously thought about. They thought they knew like these things were going to be just like part of the deal. And, so, and then they released a statement, right? They made a statement about, because there were some images and some videos that came out that were just like damning to the case of it being more standardized. Because like the difference was like drastic, and the old carpets were not standardized, right? Like you could have a lane, the next lane would be different, but it would be rare that one would move well and you would get like flattened. It'd be like one was like a little easier and the other one was like a little bit harder, but like you could like manage, you can get through it, whatever. And like, yeah, it's just kind of like a draw. Sucks, shouldn't be that way, whatever. It's just like a hard problem to solve, clearly. So they released a statement saying like it's not the carpet, it's the sleds, right? And I like can't disagree with it. If you were there, you can you can say it either way. For me, for the Elite 15, no one got flattened like how they did in the age group races. We had less sleds out there. In the age group races, like, I don't know, there's probably like 40 sleds out there. In the Elite 15, there was 15. And we were in like the middle lanes. We weren't at the very edges, and all of a sudden, they're brand new. No one got flattened. And so, like, if someone wants to tell themselves that they didn't do well because the sleds were like they had a bad lane, because we're seeing throughout the weekend that there was bad lanes. There wasn't bad lanes in Elite 15. They were brand new sleds, and everybody moved it fine. It was heavier than it typically feels, than what we've been used to, but it wasn't like this seismic change that between one lane or another. It just wasn't. Like, I'm sorry. So, but that was because all sleds were brand new, and they told us that, and they looked like, you could see them, you could look at them, they're brand new. So it's probably some combination of both, but I don't see how. Like, I just don't know. Maybe it was like an installation issue, like on the further ends or on some versus the other. But like, there were definitely lanes that were worse than others. They came out and said it was the sleds themselves that were causing this issue, and I kind of have to go with what they're saying, right? And I just hope that there is some way that they can either like retire sleds, turn sleds over, or give guarantees at specific races that, like, hey, or like a heads up or something, at least be like, we're going to have new equipment every like so often. Like, if you're at this race, like, chances are these sleds are going to have like 10 races already on them. So these sleds might be a little bit slower, but this race up here, it's going to be newer sleds. We're going to have, they might be a little bit faster, whatever. I don't know what they're going to do, but there should be some sort of, for the I just don't know what they're going to do. This is like a hard problem to solve for sure, especially when it comes to just like regular races, right? You show up to Toronto, it's like, good luck. You show up to London, show up to South Africa, whatever it is, wherever you go, is like, we hope you get a good lane. If you don't get a good lane, sucks. But at least for the elite races, or races that have like the majors, I'm saying, not like the actual races that during the events themselves, that they are at least guaranteeing us, for the sports side of things, that they're all new, or they're all the same. At least it's like, or they're all 10 races in, right? And like having like it written on the sled somewhere, or having it in a database somewhere, or like being able to prove to us that the playing field is actually even, so that we don't leave and people are like, I got a bad lane, that's why I didn't win. Because like that is just not good for sport. It's not good for standardization. And if like it continues to be like that, then it's just gonna be dumb. So I hope that that is not the case. And the turf felt good. It felt cool. I liked it. But it's just like a strange, like, I don't know why they make decisions. I don't run a big multi-million dollar corporation that is like extremely successful and has taken the world, like set the world on fire. Everybody knows about it. And like, I don't know how to do that. Right. So I don't know how to make decisions that they make, that they make, straight up. But like, when I was thinking about this, is like, what could be good that comes out of this particular instance, right? Like, if the sled carpet performed exactly, or sled turf performed exactly the same way as the carpet, people wouldn't be like, that was amazing, we're so glad that that changed. They'd be like, yeah, like, we hope that that was the same, like that, like, it shouldn't change for this race. Like, there, like, it wouldn't be like positive. The only thing that could come out of this is negative discourse. That's exactly what happened. Right? Like no one was going to rejoice and be like, man, Hyrox did it again. This sled turf is just like amazing. It's only going to be negative. Like, there's only negative outcomes. So, and that's what happened. That's what happened. And it's unfortunate to happen at the World Championship. I really feel for the athletes who caught bad lanes, because there were bad sled lanes, or bad like sleds on the lanes, whatever was doing it. There were definitely bad sleds out there. So that sucks. But like I said, it's a complicated problem. Said it a bunch of times now. It's just going to be really hard to solve. And we hope that they're going to do their best. And one thing for me in particular, every time a change is made, I always raise an eyebrow, and I'm like, why could this be? Like, when the sport side of things they first started to kind of make this more mature, right? They like back, this was like 3 or 4 years ago now, they were making decisions that were just like that to me were nonsensical. Like that, not just because they were negatively affecting me, but just from like zoomed out sports side of things, like this is not how it works in endurance sports across like any other like successful brand or race type or whatever. So like I felt hurt and burned. It takes me a long time to forgive. So I always am like, something's up. Something is not like adding up. And I continuously have that mindset when they do make changes. But in the past couple years, 2-3 years or so, they have definitely been committed and they've been committed to doing what is right by the community and by the athletes. And their initial decisions might not be exactly the right thing in that moment. They think so. They're hopeful that it does work. They do a lot of things. They solve a lot of problems that are positive and that are successful. And sometimes they miss. And it's in this massive public eye, this huge growth explosion that it's scrutinized like crazy. And they listen. They actually listen. And they usually do right. So I am now feeling more optimistic around their decisions, around what they're doing, because they've shown like that they are here to listen to the community, because they understand that without the community, they don't have a product. They don't have a business. They have a product, but if the product's just like, it's just what we say it is, like then they don't have anybody to sell it to if they're just going to abandon it. So they're just like smart. They're smart. These are good people who will listen. And like I've been in contact with them. They're pretty available. They're not like hiding by their decisions, and they take ownership for it. And for that, I am optimistic because we're starting to see it. Right. So I would give them some grace on this. It was, it's you can't they tested it rigorously, but like you can't test it over the course of like a 4-day race week with thousands of runners going over it. And that's just what happened. So it sucks. I'm sorry if that happened to you. Didn't happen to me or anyone in the Elite 15. If they say so, they're just looking for some other reason why it didn't go well. All right. So that was my third takeaway. Sleds. Yes. So I think I actually did kind of touch on this already about just showing up at the biggest moment, and it's not that easy. So I touched on that. I kind of like coupled those things together. I have something else written down here that I'm looking at, and I can't read my handwriting. That's not great. That is not great. But as I'm sitting here thinking, looking at this again, that how, in my instance, so my Elite 15 race, I had this plan, right? And it fell apart a little bit in the middle, and my place was definitely worse than I anticipated, and finished in 11th. And that was disappointing. I said, but like whatever, I went for it. I'm like happy with that race. I honestly am. I'm happy. I'm very happy. I'm satisfied with it. The outcome's not what I wanted. I could have placed better if I raced how I typically race, but I didn't. I chose not to do that, and I'm completely satisfied with that race. In doubles, we had a shot. Plyo and I were coming into this race as the top seed, and I was feeling great. And unfortunately, Plyo had sustained an injury like early in the race, and we just like we couldn't compete because it's a team sport, and we just couldn't compete as a unit. And it's just like it was like I'm upset because I didn't get a chance to run this race, and I felt so good. I wasn't even about the outcome for that either, right? Like the like 7 minutes or whatever we did get the race, I was just like having fun, and I couldn't wait to like experience the feeling of racing in doubles at this high end and like practicing, like trying some stuff and like really putting out and like being able to compete. which is what we want to do. Like, that's what I'm really disappointed at. Like, I lost an experience to like have like this awesome time, which I definitely was going to have. It was going to be great. I was like really, like looking forward to that as we got there. I like, and I'm sitting here healthy. I can't, like, my guy Palaio's gonna be feeling terrible. Like, he's like physically feeling terrible, and also like it is a team sport, right? I think he's feeling guilty, even though he did nothing wrong. I'm clearly not upset at Palaio for this. Like, it's not something that he wanted to have happen. But like the feelings that come along with racing, it's like, okay, it's okay to have this disappointment, right? And coming back from the weekend, like, it was really fun. But there's just this like cast of disappointment across like the outcome in individuals, and then just like the circumstances of doubles, that like I'm not feeling awesome about it, right? And that is just part of sports. And my season went so well from basically from start to finish. A couple of one or two like kind of like snafus here or there, but really, really solid, just like all the way across the board. Like, I showed up and raced hard, raced well, figured out a lot of things. I feel really confident for next season, but just like I had this like fairy tale season, but like without the happy ending, right? Like, it just didn't. It had like a disappointing end. It's like a to be continued. We're starting like a trilogy type of deal, and the feeling of that come along with these, like when you set goals, of what could be construed as failure, uh, that's okay. And like trying to figure out and just like wrestle with it is is something that is just like, it's hard to do. It's hard to like just feel not okay, and just like knowing it's not okay, and just like knowing it's okay to feel not okay. And that's really where I'm at on that end. Like, I just like, and that is just like a takeaway that I'm having, right? Is like, it's okay to like come out of this and just not need it to be like this positive thing, or not need it to be like this like building thing. Sometimes things just suck. It just is a bummer. And that's just like full on. Like, I just like feel so bummed out for like a variety of reasons on this. And but like, that's okay. Like, that is just, it's not always going to be this way. I was talking to a good friend of mine before this race, and as we were talking, that was just like one of the lessons we heard. Like, for them, things weren't going well, but like things will get better, and for me, things were going great, and things are going to get worse, right? So like things got a little worse, and there was just like missed opportunities on my end, which a little bit painful. Things didn't go the way I had envisioned. And then what that means for like now and like down the road, things are going to be changing quite a bit. Like nothing is guaranteed. And like, there's all these factors that I just like felt really good about, and they didn't come to fruition. And that's just being disappointed is part of the game. And that is something that I must acknowledge, and I must like take with me. And if you're feeling that disappointment, if it's like you got a bad sled lane, and like there's probably a lot of more anger attached to that. Like, I don't have that, which is good. In races in letdowns in the past, it was a lot because of my own prep or my own mental, and then that was like a lot more like loathing that I would feel on that, and just like self-loathing, just like not feeling great about myself, a little bit of shame in how I would perform. Like, I'm not feeling that. I'm just feeling like this like disappointment from factors that I couldn't control. And that's like, I don't love that, but that is just like the case. That's just the case. So that's not a takeaway, right? Ups and downs. Things won't always be this way. Last and final, I talk about this all the time, but the community is here, is as strong as ever. It is just like so fun to be out and about and around with the community. I appreciate everybody who does listen, people who came from far and wide, like from the UK, from Germany, from Australia. A lot of athletes like making this trek to like come celebrate this and like show up and like have like this shared experience, because we have like this shared value. is awesome. It was like so cool, and it was great to see and connect with people who I may have connected with online, or people who do again listen to podcasts, watch YouTube, interact with us on social media, and just like how how you all are receiving what we're doing here, and that we have this connection that like might not be shared in person too often. When we do get the chance to share that, it is a really cool, special feeling. So I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for this community. I'm grateful that this does exist. We're very fortunate, right? Even though it's like not perfect all the time, we're very fortunate to have this. And that is just something that it's a great reminder. Events like this, events like anything, like, so I highly recommend, if you next race that you do, like trying to engage in some community events, try to be around a little bit more people, try to connect with people from like your gym, or like, again, plug for us, RMR Training app. We have an online community that is like bustling now, and like a lot of connections are being made. And that's really fun as well. Like seeing people who have done the program and who are out there, and like they're like, hey, I followed the program, it went well. Followed the program, didn't go that well. We'll fix it, I promise. So yeah, just that's really all. Like the community aspect is amazing. It's so cliche, but it is true. So I appreciate all of you listening to RMR Training Podcast. Again, we'll be back later on this week with Meg and Kent, and we'll just get the story from all perspectives. We'll probably dive into the nuts and bolts a little bit more, but I just wanted to kind of share some of my main takeaways. Next up for me, don't know. Don't know. So I'm gonna be training. I'm gonna be lifting some weights. I'm excited about that. So follow along, give us a shout. Appreciate you all so much, and we'll talk to you soon.